Hi, I'm Karen Oliver, and I'm an energy psychologist and healer. I work with many modalities. I just wanted to jump on today and talk about programming. You might ask what I mean by programming. What I mean is the systems that we have taken on through our childhood that we're still running. So certain programs that we completely believe in as our truth. Now, some of these may be really, really useful and help us to be successful in whatever way we want to be. However, quite often we hold on to programs from childhood that we've outgrown and may have been created at a time of trauma, lack of understanding, lack of resources. And these sort of programs are created to help us cope because when we're not fully able to deal with a certain situation. These sort of programs are the sort that will stop us, get us to self-sabotage, leave us feeling less than good about ourselves, stop us feeling confident. So I'm sure if you think about it, we all have certain programs like this, that just when we feel like we're getting somewhere, they come along and sabotage us. Now, we quite often get these programs from childhood mainly, but from our caregivers. Sometimes it's not always that they are consciously, intentionally given to us. But if something keeps happening, certain behaviors keep happening, we learn this type of programming. And if you think about when you're a child, it's really, we are so dependent on our caregivers that we want to keep them happy. We want to keep being loved. And to do this, sometimes inadvertently, we think we have to live within certain parameters, within certain programs. Maybe in your family, you noticed that crying was acceptable, but showing anger wasn't. So what you would have done is adjusted your programming so that anger was suppressed, that there was a belief around anger, that anger wasn't acceptable. Likewise, if your family thought that anger was okay, but crying wasn't, you may have beliefs around crying means you're weak. And also that you have to shout to get your point of view across. You have to push your point of view. There may be many beliefs around these things, but I think you understand from that how programs perhaps are created and how they may run our lives in a way that's not suitable. So, for instance, if we believe that anger is acceptable in any way, shape or form, we may not always use the other elements of emotions and strategies that we could get what we want from life. We may rely on just getting angry, even though we find we don't get what we want. And then quite honestly, probably the opposite, because we've had this deep programming at such an unconscious level, we sometimes don't know what else to do. So we keep doing it and wondering why we're not getting the results. So with programming, we're unconsciously living through them. And even though consciously we may get up in the morning and decide what we want for the day, those unconscious programs are running through us all day long. So if we've decided we want to write a story, but there's programming there that perhaps says that we're not very good at English or whatever language we write in, whatever our mother tongue is, we're not very good at it, or we're not very creative. There may be beliefs there that have been there for a long time that stop us from believing that we're capable of achieving that. So even though consciously we want to do it, unconsciously it undermines us. And the unconscious is so strong and sometimes so invisible to us that we're not even aware that it's doing it, but somehow we get distracted away from what we really want to do. Something else comes in, or we just move away from the idea altogether, even though we really want it. So how do we get past unconscious programs? Something that I use a lot is something called emotional freedom technique. And I'd just like you to take you through a little bit of how it works. Equally, you can look on my website, which is www.e-motionalsolutions.co.uk/downloads. That's where there's an EFT tapping chart, emotional freedom technique tapping chart, which would help you to get started with EFT. But I'd like to just take you through it just on this particular subject. Now, programming's a very deep thing. However, we can make way into it. We can gradually chip away at it if we're persistent. So I'd like to just take you through a few rounds of EFT. EFT is a meridian therapy. It works on energy, and it shifts stagnant energy. And stagnant energy is where the emotions are. The emotions live in our body. So in our body somewhere, and you may be aware, maybe when you're trying to run a really empowering program that you want to do, like I want to write a book. You may be aware when you get distracted or something tells you that, well, I'm not good enough. You may be aware of a feeling inside somewhere. Maybe you get a tight chest. Maybe you get butterflies in your stomach. Maybe there's somewhere in your body that you notice that. Just notice where you feel that. Think about a program that you are aware of, because awareness is key. Without awareness, we're not able to change anything. So become aware of that. Notice where you feel it in your body. Then I'd like you to give it a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being it's really strong. 0 obviously not there at all. So just give yourself, notice where it is in your body, give yourself a number. Give it a title. Give this program a title. And when we go through, you can use that title. How would you label that program? It might be, I'm not a writer. I'm not good enough. Whatever it might be, whatever program it is, just jot it down and we'll do some tapping on it. So EFT is tapping on certain points of the body. So it's a bit like acupuncture or acupressure, but we don't use needles, we actually tap on points of the body. And the first point I'd like you to use is the karate chop point. Okay, now all these points are parts of the body. This one signifies the small intestine. So when we're tapping on that, and quite often we can tap with both of them like this. This is about letting go of things that might stop us from letting go of a program. So again, it's about chipping away at it. So what would be a reason to hold on to this program? You may think that's an odd question, but there's always a positive intention. And if this has come from childhood, perhaps it didn't feel safe to let go of this program. Perhaps that's what made you feel safe at the time. It was a way of coping. So that's what we would say at this point, is something like, even though I don't feel safe to let go of, insert your program. I'm going to say, just for example, even though I don't feel safe to believe that I could be a writer, I'm not good enough to be a writer. I was told that as a child. This is a program I believe, and it's not easy to let it go. Maybe it's not safe to let it go. I still choose to feel calm and peaceful. Okay, now you might find you have a slight tingling going on. It's just energy, that's fine. The next point that I use is a point called the sore spot. Now, if you put your fingers into the notch of your neck and come down and move across, it could be either side, doesn't matter. You should find a point called the sore spot. And if you rub that sore spot, that's where lots of meridians meet. And we're going to say what I call a setup. And again, if you look at my website, the information is there, so you don't have to remember this. And sometimes it's easier if someone shows you. So once you've found that point, you rub it, and we will say a setup around the issue. So I'm going to say, even though I don't believe I'm a writer, I don't feel I'm good enough. And you could bring up an instance of when you've recognized this. My teacher said I wasn't good enough at English. I still completely and deeply accept, love, and forgive myself. Now, why do we say that? Because most of the time we would say, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not a writer, my teacher told me I wasn't good enough at English to write anything significant, and I should be, and I'm not good enough, and I judge myself for that. Really, it's about turning it on its head and saying, even though that is how I feel right now, that is my truth, even though it's not true, but it's your truth right now, it's what you believe, I still accept, love, and forgive myself. Even though I'm not perfect, I'm still an okay person. I still accept myself right now, just as I am, without even changing a thing. So that's what we do at this point. Now I'm going to get you to familiarize yourself with the tapping points, and then we'll run through. So the first point is the top of the head. And this is the 100 meeting points. And then the eyebrow closest to the nose. This is the bladder. And the outer eye on the bony socket. If you've got glasses, I managed to go around mine, but if you've got glasses, you can always take them off. That's the gallbladder. And under the eye, on the bony socket, that's the stomach. Under the nose, central vessel, and then the chin, governing, which is our meridians. And then down to the collarbone, and just feel the fleshy bit just underneath, and that's the kidneys. Okay, and then under the arm, just, you probably can't see me quite just about there. That is the spleen and the pancreas. So it's sort of a fix-all. We're actually, no matter what we're talking about, we're tapping on all these points to shift wherever it's living. So we don't need to know where it is. We're just working around to release any stagnation in your energy field. We are all balls of energy. That's what we are. We're electric circuits. And when there's stagnation, it's like a stuck circuit and it's not working properly. Okay, so let's do some tapping and follow me and follow what I'm saying. So when we're tapping, I'm going to say some reminder phrases, and we're just going to work around programming again. Remember, we're just chipping away at it. Programs can be quite a deep thing, but we're chipping away at it, and things might crop up, you know, that you notice as you go. So remember your number and where it's living, and you can relate to that. I'm going to use examples, but you can use your own examples. So let's go here first. Say, even though it's not safe to let go of this old belief, this old programming, that I'm not good enough to write a book, that my teacher told me I wasn't good enough at English, I still choose to feel calm and peaceful. Okay, let's move to the sore spot. Remember where that is. Familiarize yourself and rub it. Should feel like a slight bruise under the skin. And we're going to say, even though I believe I'm not a good writer, remember to insert your program, your belief. Because my teacher told me when I was at school that I wasn't good at English. And I've had many instances where I recognize I'm not good enough at writing. And I've believed that for a long time. I still completely and deeply accept, love, and forgive myself. Okay, so let's move to the tapping. This programming that I have had as a belief, as my truth, since I was a child. If you know the age, put that in. So I'm going to say since I was 6, I have believed that I'm not able to write well enough to be a writer. I'm not good enough. My English teacher told me at the tender age of 6, you're not good enough at English. And I believed her. And there were many instances that added to this experience, added to this belief, confirmed this program that I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be a writer. And as I took that evidence in all stages of my life, it got stronger. And I believed it even more. This programming, this belief, this truth that I'm so familiar with, it's been there so long, it's living in my chest, and it feels quite tight. Every time I think about writing, I will distract myself. I will take myself away. I will sabotage myself because it's not safe to believe that I'd be good enough to be a writer. I know this old programming is trying to keep me safe. Safe from failure, safe from disappointment, safe from feeling bad about myself. But I already feel bad about myself because I believe I'm not good enough. So maybe this programming that is many decades old, that belongs to a 6-year-old, doesn't suit me anymore. Maybe it's not my truth anymore. What if I could let it go? What if I could begin to release it? What if it was never true in the first place? How can you judge it at the age of 6? Not many people could write a book at 6. So what if I could release this old belief? How would I feel? How would I look? How would I sound? What would I do if I no longer believed that I'm not good enough at English to write a book? How would that influence what I do, how I feel? What if it's possible that it wasn't right, that it was incorrect, that it was based on a 6-year-old? I haven't been a 6-year-old for many decades, so maybe it's time now to update this program, to gradually release it, as it doesn't seem based in truth. What if I did let it go? How would that change how I think about myself? What I would try out? Not just writing a book, maybe other things. So if this was based on someone else's opinion when I was 6, and that wasn't true, do I have to hold on to it any longer? Maybe I can just let it go. Maybe I can release it. So with every exhale, I release this sensation that's been stuck in my chest. With every breath, I'm free now to let it go. I give full permission to release it. It's in my power to let it go. And as I do, I release that old feeling from every cell of my body. Easily, effortlessly, and effectively. And as I release, I feel free to breathe in more easily. And I breathe in peace. I breathe in joy. I breathe in love. I breathe in calm. I deserve to breathe easy. I deserve to have the best programming. I choose my own programming. It's safe to do so. I'm safe no matter what. Okay, take a nice long deep breath. And just notice how differently you feel. Maybe calmer, more peaceful. Some people feel a bit more floaty. Maybe you've been yawning. If you're yawning, it's just energy shifting. And notice that you're releasing. And sometimes it takes a while to process. Sometimes it takes a while for that to release and let go. Just look back at what you wrote down. Whatever the belief was, whatever the programming was, and the number it was, and where you felt it. Do you still feel it there? Has it released? Is it true? Just say it. Get your hands across your heart and say, I'll never be able to write a book. Or whatever your programming was, just say it. And just notice how you feel about that. How true is that? There may be a sense of, yeah, that's not true at all. There may be a sense of, yeah, I'm not really believing that. Just notice how it feels. And this is the way that you can chip away at programs. Maybe other things cropped up while we were tapping. Other things, other aspects of it. Write them down. Tap on them. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Just to introduce you to the idea of programming and how it affects you in everyday life. Please do have a look at my website and have a good day. Take care. Bye.